Talk Radio with Mark and Nikki, where we talk about real life and pretty much whatever pops into our head. So today I plan on talking about pet peeves. Oh my gosh, we all have them. So what about you, Mark? What do you got today?
I want to talk a little bit about entrepreneurship. I'm going to give some tips on how to properly use social media to grow your business. Really good information coming from one of the masters in the business, Gary Vaynerchuk. I like listening to his stuff. He gives a lot of content out there. But I like kind of pulling from it and then kind of condensing it a little bit for our listeners.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, well, let's go. Let's talk about pet peeves. My
Pet
biggest pet
peeves.
peeves. Any clue?
What's the definition of a pet peeve?
Something that really irks you and ticks you off to no end. That's what I say it is.
Okay, all right.
Right? Does sound about right?
Sure.
So my biggest pet peeve ever is people who cuss in public.
Oh.
Right? Now, hold on. It's specifically with women and children, right? So this happened just a few weeks ago. I was standing in line at the grocery store, and I'm there with my sweet, innocent little 8-year-old daughter. And the guy behind me, he was like, man, did you see that mother beep last night? Did you see the on that? And
Oh, wow.
And so Michaela's looking at me like, Mom? So I turned around and said, excuse me, would you mind toning it down a bit? I have my child here. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm sorry. Right?
Did he put his hands up like that?
Yeah. Like, of course
Did
I
you
had
have your gun?
I mean, I welcome to Texas, yow. Yeah. So I didn't have my gun. I mean, I had it with me. We know this is something I know.
Right.
Yeah. And, well, he was nice about it. He's like, I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm so sorry. But I think he was kind of under the influence of something that was not legal. But Michaela was like, I can't believe people talk like that. I'm like, I'm your mother. You know people talk like that. No, just kidding. So, yeah, that's my number one biggest pet peeve. Or if I'm somewhere with my mom, my mom's 77, and then for somebody to be throwing that language around, and it just bothers me. It's something that my dad didn't allow in our household. I've made up for it over the years. Ever since I moved out. I can't wait to move out so I can say a bad word. No, but anyway, that's one of my biggest pet peeves. And the next one is, okay, for the love of God, people, flush your stuff.
Well, hang on. So let's visit this first pet peeve just a little bit. So,
okay.
Of course, my law enforcement background, right? I mean, it's just, you kind of cuss like a sailor sometimes, but you can clean it up in the right company as it is needed. One of the things that I figured out early on in my career was how, like you go to a family disturbance, right? And there's this yelling and screaming going on, stuff like that. The cop comes in and calms everything down. And let's say that you're going to have to, arrest or do something with one of the people in there, right? They're going to either have to leave or whatever, but it's something that they don't want to do. Even though they may be cussing up a storm,
right?
One of the biggest mistakes that an officer can do is to jump on that bandwagon and cuss. Now, that's not in all situations. Of course, there's never an absolute, but generally speaking, that is not, and there's several different reasons. I'm going to focus on one, because what I learned early on was that it basically unlocks the whole situation for cussing. So they take it up. I've seen it happen so many times. They'll actually take it up a notch. So now that rather than just cussing once or twice, it's constant cussing, right? So they've got something maybe that they can.
Mother,
yeah.
All right, it's back and forth.
So it goes, and I've seen it escalate that way, and it's difficult for the officer now to try and bring that back down because he or she, stepped into that realm. So just something I learned early on. Not only that, but now, of course, the officers are all wearing body cams and all this kind of stuff too. So you really have to watch their language. Of course, they can use language if necessary. And sometimes it is appropriate to use that to kind of get that attention that you need. But being reckless about that can be problematic. So yeah, in situations, language can really work against you. So anyway, just an interesting thought I thought I'd share. What's your second
my
one?
two favorite shirts, real quick. One says, I've got a great heart, but this mouth, right? That's one of my shirts.
Right.
And then my other shirt says, I love Jesus and cussing. I do. I cuss. It's one of those things.
You need to wear one of those for our show.
I think I will. So something that's very appropriate to say right now, because we're talking about language, I can tell my kid, hey, pick up your tennis shoes, put them in the tennis shoe box. Okay, great. And I go to the kitchen, I do my business, whatever I got to do in there. I come back, the shoes are there. Hey, I told you to pick up your shoes. Honey, put them in the box. Okay, Mom. Go to the bedroom, hang up the laundry, come back out, and there they are. Pick up your damn shoes. Yes, Mom, right away. Like, there is no question. You throw in one of those curse words, it's like, oh, watch out. Mama's mad. But those are the situations where it's like, okay, I'm going to cuss in front of my kid.
So
my kid, I'll do what I want.
You don't count, right? Do you? Okay.
No.
So
one smack. I'm like the KGB. That's funny.
Have you seen that? Speaking of which, from The Office, that clip,
Yes.
the knock knock joke.
Yes.
That is hilarious. That Office show is so funny, right? But the whole Michael Scott and what's the other guy's name? Dwight Schrute.
I don't know. I actually posted that on Facebook yesterday. It was the first time I really watched part of The Office.
Need to
I've
watch
never
The
seen
Office.
an episode. But I saw that and I could not stop laughing. I watched it like 11 times. And he's like, knock, knock.
There's a whole bunch of those.
KGB. The KGB who? Smack me, ask the questions. I was like, what? I mean, I couldn't stop watching it. It was the funniest thing. So, yeah.
So did you see the way that Jim Halpert, he's the other guy, how he kind of wrapped that up with, anyway, that was just funny.
Hilarious. All right, so the next biggest pet peeve, and I told you, it's all about flushing your stuff. Seriously, there's nothing worse for me. Like,
you talking about toilet humor now, or toilet
well,
stuff?
it's not very humorous, although it can be. So I am kind of a germaphobe.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit, just a little bit. So there's nothing worse than walking into a bathroom, right? And you're like, oh, I don't want to be here in the first place. You walk in, it's like, well, welcome to Turdville, right? Like it stinks to high heaven. And you go to open up the door, and there's, oh, hey. Well, at least you're wiped. I'm proud of you. Great. And then you go to the next one. It's like, don't eat yellow snow. That's like, come on, people, flush. It just drives me up the friggin' wall. And by that point, I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to hold it. I'm just going to do the pee-pee dance for an hour and a half until we get home. But yeah, that's just a little PDA or PSA, excuse me.
Public service announcement.
There you go.
All
Flush
right.
your stuff, please. We appreciate you. From a mom with kids, flush your stuff.
How do you do for outhouses, though?
I don't.
You don't?
I don't.
You just hold it?
No, it's like, no. Stage fright. It doesn't work. I'm just like, I can't do anything. Goodbye.
Wow. All right. So those are Nikki's pet peeves. So if
What
you're going to
about
hang
you?
around here.
You have one. Just spit it out.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really thought too much about
He's
it.
like,
but
I hate
yeah, we
kind of.
All right, so let me do a short commercial plug for CBD and Essential Oil Talk Radio, which is our other podcast that is focused on helping people learn how to incorporate CBD and essential oils into their lives. So we talk about elevating your lifestyle to a more clean, chemical-free, and drug-free way of living that can help you find solutions to common problems such as anxiety, depression, lack of sleep, chronic pain, ADHD, and so much more. You can find CBD and Essential Oil Talk Radio on all major podcast platforms, as well as video versions of the show on Facebook and YouTube. Look for links in the podcast description below. That's really our passion. That's where we started out, was we wanted to communicate to folks that CBD, plant oils, right? CBD and essential oils are very, very valuable to us. We definitely need to take a look at it. And then quality is a huge deal when you come to those. So when it came to me, of course, we sought out the very, very best company, Young Living, and went from there. So, all right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about entrepreneurship. That's kind of my segment, right? Gary Vaynerchuk's view on how to properly use social media to grow your business. So if you don't know who Gary Vaynerchuk is, called Gary V, he's the chairman of VaynerX, a modern-day media and communications holding company, and the very active CEO of VaynerMedia. If you're on YouTube at all, you can't get away from it. It's everywhere. So his company, VaynerMedia, is a full-service advertising agency focusing servicing Fortune 100 clients across the world. He's a sought-out public speaker for Business Insight, 5-time New York best-selling author, and angel investor in companies like Facebook, Twitter, and Uber, where he made a killing. So I've been following Gary for a few months now, and I love his fresh take on entrepreneurship. So he has a great way of giving you the core message and then building context around it to help you better understand why his method and ideology work. He doesn't just talk the talk, but he's actually walking it out for everybody to actually see. His business meetings and stuff like that, he's filming those, which is awesome. Very, very valuable to be a part of that. So I'm going to focus on a very important topic. This is how to use social media in a way that can actually grow your business. Now, I was watching one of his videos where he was talking to, and these people are paying for this time with him, right? And we get to be a fly on the wall for this. And there's a couple of good questions came up, but really I'm going to focus in on the social media question. So in this first video clip I'm going to play, and then we'll take a look at it, Gary talks about being strategic in your social media activity. So we're going to go ahead and listen to that clip.
I don't think all posts are created equal. And so to me, you have to be agenda driven. So for me, I think it's more about you joining Facebook groups, you creating LinkedIn creative, which I think will work for a lot of you, and then target with ad spend against agencies, and you replying thoughtfully You know, you should map every single CEO that is a creative shop that you want to do business with, follow her or him on every platform, and then thoughtfully leave a comment of 2 to 3 sentences to every post. I genuinely believe depth wins the social game, not width, and I think everyone's buying into width. So for me, I think that's how you do it.
Okay.
I think you create your best thoughts and put them out, and I think you community manage, aka leave creative comments on things that you think resonate in your world. I'll give you an example. Just leaving some thoughtful point of view on photography under the creative lead of a 15-person agency in Dallas leads to business development for you, because she sees that and she's like, who's this woman?
Cool.
But where everybody fucks up, in my opinion, is they go for scale, not depth. So like I see a lot of people buying automation tools to like people's posts just because they think that gets them awareness. Like a lot of short tactics that are good for vanity metrics for 5 minutes, but terrible for business.
Yeah, so first, I think the days of blasting out mindless social media content and expecting people to give you their business is pretty much over. I mean, because we're kind of inundated, right, with all of this stuff.
You got to make it personal and meaningful is what I take on that.
So Gary, who's a master at the social media game, is saying that entrepreneurs are going to have to actually put thought into their social media efforts, right? So putting thoughtful comments on social media posts takes time and energy, and people, you know, we kind of get either, I don't know if lazy is the right word, but we get lazy with respect to this, right? We're not giving it the due respect that it deserves. And so putting thoughtful comments on social media posts takes time and energy. And if you really don't care about the post you're commenting on, right, you're just trying to be there. It has a pretty
good heart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that.
Or 2 words or something like that, you know. It pretty much has a pretty good chance of showing in your words how you really feel about that, and can actually work against you, but certainly not produce the kind of result, typically speaking, that you're looking for. So the whole idea here should be to make a real connection with the person. Hey, new concept, right? We're going all the way back to the old school beginning.
Relationship.
Exactly right. So things are shifting back towards relationship building in business, which is awesome. So now in my second clip, Gary talks about why LinkedIn, so we're talking about social media, right? Making connections. But he talks about why LinkedIn is an excellent place to put your content out right now. So go ahead and listen to that.
The number one goal you have is to eliminate friction for the person you're trying to sell to at scale. LinkedIn, which is something I didn't talk about at all until like 18 months or 12 months ago, the reason it's coming so much out of my mouth right now is it's the first platform since Facebook that has so much organic scale. Like you have no brand, you've done nothing, and you can literally write an article about why you think Boca is a good market to invest in, why you're somebody good to invest in, why the Boca School, my recommendation, think like a publisher, not like a selfish salesperson, why the Boca school system is up and coming. That post for you with no presence on LinkedIn is gonna be seen by way more people than you could ever imagine. There is no platform right now that gives free organic reach with no paid support, even remotely close to LinkedIn. And even the fact that I almost just said Facebook, it was really interesting to me as an insight, because it was the only other place like it used to be search on Google. Like if this was a meeting in 1999, I would be yelling at all of you, be like, okay, so there's this new thing called SEO, and you have to figure out how to be number one on it. Fuck the yellow pages. Like, you know, it's all been one game of that. Where can you get the most awareness? For the least, LinkedIn.
All right, so if you're looking for an inexpensive place, which a lot of people are, right? We're trying to get the most bang for the buck, but you want an inexpensive place to get your message, your company, your product, service in front of a lot of people for a little money. LinkedIn is an excellent place to really start cultivating those relationships, making those business, because it's business to business connections. For those of you who don't know what LinkedIn is, think of it as a high-tech equivalent to going to traditional network marketing events where you meet other business professionals, make connections, and then try to help one another in a mutually beneficial way. It's always interesting to me, folks that go to networking events and they're looking to just push, right? And not make those connections. It just doesn't work. But this is the same ideology people bring to social media as well. Yeah. It's all push.
Do you consider or even think about like BNI, the Business Network international groups that are out there? Is this kind of like an online BNI type thing? I mean, there's no fees associated with it, right? With LinkedIn?
Right. So yeah, you're establishing, or you're creating relationships with other business folks and trying to, help each other in a mutually beneficial way. So yeah, I would say it's very much, now there's not like BNI requires folks to
meeting and bring your friends and
you've got to what they call referrals, right? So it's referral heavy. There's an expectation of that.
That's right.
So you really don't have that as much pressure in a LinkedIn environment. So, but LinkedIn is very similar to Facebook in its layout, which is interesting because the folks will be comfortable in that interface. You can find job postings from employers. You can build your own network of contacts and communicate directly with them through messaging and so forth. So it's a whole other, it's almost like business Facebook, right? Setting up an account takes some time to do it right. You got to put some thought into it. You can't just, spill it out there. You want to put some thought into your imagery, what you're saying about as far as that type of work and service that you provide, whatever. So you need to put some thought into your profile. I've had a LinkedIn account for a long time, but I really never put much effort into it. So now I'm starting to really look at it, because if it's this platform where we can get a lot of reach for very little value, or having to spend money,
right,
then that's a very, very good thing. So I'm excited about all that. So what'd you think of Gary's comments?
I love it. I think he's right on the money.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
He usually is. He usually knows exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah, he does.
That. All right, so that's it for our show today. And if you like what you heard and you want to hear more of us, Mark and Nikki here, head on over to our podcast or other podcasts where we talk about CBD and essential oils and the business side. So it's called CBD and Essential Oil Talk Already. So until next time, keep it real, guys. Bye.